Picture two people who live on the same street. One drives a leased German sedan, wears a nice watch, takes the photogenic vacations, and looks by every visible measure like he has made it. The other drives a 6-year-old Toyota, wears a watch nobody notices, and looks comfortably ordinary. Now here is the question that the whole rest of this video turns on. Which one is actually rich? Because if you guess the first one, you have just walked straight into the most expensive trap in modern life. And almost nobody can see it from the inside. Here is the number that cracks it open. Nearly 45% of Americans who earn over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Not people who are struggling on a low income. People with six-figure salaries, who by every external sign should be fine, who reach the end of the month with nothing left. And it gets stranger the higher you climb. Around 40% of people earning more than $500,000 a year also say they live paycheck to paycheck. $500,000 and still nothing left over. That is not a math problem. That is a trap, and it has a name. The name is lifestyle creep, and the trap works like this. Every time your income goes up, your spending quietly rises to meet it and then to exceed it. The raise becomes a nicer car. The bonus becomes a bigger apartment. The promotion becomes the watch, the bag, the address, the upgrade you told yourself you earned. And because all of it arrives gradually, it never feels like a decision. It feels like simply living a little better. But what is actually happening is that the finish line moves every single time you get closer to it. You are running faster and faster and standing in exactly the same place. So let us be precise about what looking rich actually costs, because the machinery is hiding in plain sight. The average new car payment in America is now about $770 a month. Almost 1 in 5 new car loans is over $1,000 a month. Total car debt in this country has crossed $1.6 trillion, which is now more than all student loan debt combined. Sit with that. We have borrowed more money to look like we are doing well than we borrowed to actually educate ourselves. The luxury sedan in the driveway is not a sign of wealth. It is a sign of a monthly payment. And let me make that $1,000 payment concrete, because it sounds abstract until you see what it actually is. Someone financing a status car at $1,000 a month for a 5-year loan is not spending $60,000. With interest, they are spending closer to $70,000. But the real cost is not even that. If that same person had instead driven something modest and invested $1,000 a month in just 10 years, at the market's average return, that money would have grown to over $200,000. 10 years of a single car payment, redirected, is a fifth of the way to being a millionaire. The car does not just cost the payment. It costs everything that payment could have become. Economists call that the opportunity cost, and it is the most invisible expense in your entire life, because you never see the bill for the future you quietly sold. Now multiply that by the fact that the car is rarely the only one of these. The trap is a system, not a single purchase. The person with the financed car usually also has the financed furniture, the upgraded phone every year, the subscriptions they forgot they have, the apartment with the extra bedroom that exists mostly to be seen. None of these feel reckless on their own. Each one is just a small, reasonable upgrade, but together they form a machine that converts a large income into a small life, one comfortable decision at a time. And this is the heart of the trap, the thing nobody says out loud. The status symbols are almost never owned. They are financed. The car, the watch on a payment plan, the furniture at 0% for 24 months, the lifestyle propped up by a credit card that never quite gets paid off. These things look like wealth, but on the balance sheet they are the opposite of wealth. They are liabilities wearing the costume of success. Every one of them is a small monthly drain, pulling money out of your future and spending it on an image in the present. Now here is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable, because the people who are actually wealthy are doing nearly the reverse. 61% of American households that earn over $250,000 a year do not drive a luxury brand at all. They drive Hondas, Toyotas, Fords. The single most common car owned by American millionaires is a Toyota. In the most famous study of how the wealthy actually live, more than a third of millionaires bought their most recent car used. The person quietly building real money is, very often, the one you would never look at twice. And the reason cuts even deeper. Most millionaires did not get there on a giant income. 69% of millionaires never averaged $100,000 a year in household income. One-third of them never earned a six-figure income in their entire working life. Read that again, because it dismantles the whole assumption. The trap tells you that wealth is about how much you make and how much it shows. The data says wealth is about the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and what you do with that gap. The flashy neighbor is showing you his income. The quiet neighbor is keeping his wealth. Here is the principle that separates them, and it is not what people think. The wealthy are not cheap. They are not depriving themselves. What they actually do is refuse to spend on things they do not care about, so they can spend freely on the few things they do and invest everything left over. The frugality is not the point. The point is the redirection. Money that would have gone to impressing strangers gets quietly pointed at their own freedom instead. As one researcher put it, when people stop wasting money trying to look wealthy, they finally have the money to actually become wealthy. There is a useful way to see this clearly. There are two completely different numbers in your financial life, and the trap depends on you confusing them. The first is your income, which is how much money flows through your hands. The second is your net worth, which is how much actually sticks. Looking rich is entirely about the first number. Being rich is entirely about the second. And the cruel thing is that a high income makes it easier, not harder, to have a low net worth, because a big paycheck buys a big enough costume to hide the emptiness underneath it for years. The man with the least sedan has a high income and almost no net worth. The woman in the used Toyota has a modest income and a net worth that quietly compounds every year. The economy only ever shows you the first number. Your future is built entirely out of the second. So let me show you the size of what the trap is really costing you in real numbers, because this is where it stops being a feeling and becomes a choice. Take just the car. The difference between a $770 payment and a perfectly good $300 used car is $470 a month. That is the only change. Same person, same life, one less impressive car. Invest that $470 a month at the market's long-run average of about 10%, and in 30 years it becomes just over $1 million. One car decision, made once and repeated. The difference between looking like $1 million and actually having it, and that is only the car. Stack the rest of it, the upgraded apartment you do not need the extra rooms of, the gadgets replaced every year, the constant small luxuries bought on autopilot, and the gap between the trapped life and the free one is not $1 million. It is several. So here is a question I would genuinely like you to answer in the comments. What is the one thing you spend on mostly so that other people will see it? Be honest with yourself for a second. Naming it is the first time it loses its grip on you. Now I want to be fair, because this is not an argument for living like a monk or never enjoying your money. Enjoying your money is the entire point of having it. The trap is not spending. The trap is spending on the appearance of wealth instead of the substance of it, and confusing the two so completely that you spend your whole life paying for a costume. A genuinely rich life is not the one that looks most expensive from the outside. It is the one that is quietly, structurally free on the inside. The wealthy figured out that those are almost never the same thing, and the principle scales far beyond the car. It is the same logic underneath every status purchase you have ever made or wanted to. The watch that signals success versus the freedom that is success. The address that impresses people you do not like versus the savings that let you stop working for people you do not like. Every single time, the trap offers you the symbol and quietly takes the substance. The wealthy just learn to keep choosing the substance over and over, even when nobody is watching, especially when nobody is watching. So step back and look at the two neighbors one more time. The one who looked rich was renting his image by the month, and his balance sheet was quietly empty. The one who looked ordinary owned his life outright and could walk away from a job, a city, a bad year without flinching. Looking rich and being rich were never the same thing. They were opposites pretending to be twins. And almost the entire economy is built to keep you from noticing the difference. The expensive image was never really the dream. The freedom underneath it, the calm of money that nobody can take away because nobody is owed it, that was the dream. And that dream has a price tag a lot closer to the boring used car in the driveway than to the least one that announces itself. The only thing standing between most people and real wealth was the belief that they had to look rich in order to be it. You never did, and now you know the math. If this changed how you think about one expensive thing you have been telling yourself you can't have, there are a lot more of these, the real math behind the life you actually want. Subscribe, and let's keep decoding it together.